apologies to the wind. Bit of an experiment this. First, I'm not quite sure if you can see me or not. That might be a little better. Secondly, not sure about the angle of the wind, but what I'm doing is I'm finishing the white currant harvest if I can. These white currants are now in their overripe state, really, and they need to come off. I've already told you. Lovely. I've already told you the saga of the tree on the other side. The branch collapsing because there was so much. Sorry, I'm picking them and putting them in the bag because they were so heavy. You see my bag down there? There we are. That might be even better. Basically, we thought it was a red currant bush, and you can see the red currant bush. Possibly, this is the red currant bush. Can you see it from there? Yes, I think so. It's underneath. Basically, it's growing out of the ground down here, and it grows up there, and it fruits around the base, going round. And I have to admit that we were a bit flabbergasted as to why the red currants were ripening at the bottom and not at the top. And we just assumed it was heat rather than light that did it. And so the white currants, they got bigger and bigger and bigger. Oops, and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then there was a bit of wind, and it was just too much for half the bush on the other side, and it snapped off at the base. And all the white currants came crashing down, and that was the first time that we realised what was going on. After a little bit of investigation, it turned out that we would be waiting a very long time for these to go red if because they're not red currants. They are in fact white currants. Now we have had an absolutely bumper crop, and I do mean that is pretty large for a white currant. Very juicy. You don't tend to get them that big. It's more usual for you to get white currants that are sort of more. Oops, I can't even see. I do apologise. But it's more often for you to get like loads of little ones like that. But underneath here, where they haven't been scorched by the sun and they haven't been got at by Pesky and his wife, they are absolutely, they are absolutely, that is a giant stig, absolutely giant stig, full of white currants. So it's no wonder that the weight of them all, accompanied with a little bit of wind, brought the whole bush on the other side down. Now, we started harvest immediately after that, and we actually managed to save a good 2/3 of the currants that were on that side that came down. Not terrible either, because we are going to prune this right back. It is wild, it's feral, it's well overgrown, and it needs to be looked at. Basically, it needs to be shapened up for next year. But because it's been feral, and because it's just been left to grow, and also because it's been a rather nice summer, we had at least 2 heat waves. What you've got is a combination of factors which have done very, very well in getting our white currants to be enormous, absolutely enormous. Now most of these are being frozen. We have enough here to make jam, to make pie, to make all sorts. This is the last side. This bit down here is the last side that I have to do. Once that's done, the white currant bush, all of this will be, you know, over. Not before time, I can tell you. Whoever said be grateful for harvest wasn't the one who was harvesting, I can assure you. Although I think we're incredibly grateful, because particularly with this, we didn't do anything to deserve these rich pickings. Really, these belong to whichever guy it was that abandoned his plot prior to the harvest, but after you know, taking over, these really were inherited. But all the same, it would be rude to let them all rot on the vine. I mean, some of them do, particularly when we have left harvest a bit late. Should have been harvesting these about a month ago. So, you know, but there we are. Now, there have been other several issues with the allotment. On your screen right now, you're looking at damage to some of our brassicas. Natural damage. You may have realised that this year has been an absolutely bumper year for cabbage butterflies. There are hundreds of them. I've never seen so many before, and they do very well with the very warm, humid weather for some reason. And their young have begun to hatch, and what they're doing is eating our brassicas. Now, it's a bit of a... Different people say different things about what you ought to do. Some people say you should spray them and kill all the insects. Obviously that's not organic particularly, and I think you'd have to be a bit careful about the spray you used. Other people say you ought to keep them netted and hope that the butterflies can't get through to lay their eggs on it. Now, we actually don't have quite as bad damage as some that I've seen in this allotment, it has to be said. And I think that's because we did keep them netted for quite some time. You'll remember that we had them netted to stop them being eaten by the pigeons, and we went to the extent of raising the netting when they grew, before finally deciding that, you know, it was just too much hassle. Raising the netting was a bit of a nightmare, and we didn't want to go through that yet again. This year I don't think there's much we can do at all, to be honest. I think we just pick them off and squash them when we find them. They attack the leaves rather than the fruit, so if we can keep the plant reasonably healthy, it will still produce the fruit. We're not even sure what sort of brassicas they are. You see, a lot of these are damaged now. This is the last side, you see, so the most ripe and the most infested with other sort of insects that have had time to eat it. The other major news, apart from the fact we're not liming because it takes 2 weeks before you can plant anything, is that the paths have gone in on the north side. I've laid the paths ready, which is fantastic. We're having our linears in the front area. We've got a path that separates that from the corn, and then another path that separates that from our 2 of our 4 rotating bays. So we've got a bisection path as well in there. So 3 paths have been laid altogether. And that's what I've sort of been doing this morning before doing this, before finishing off the harvest. Now, Sue wanted to get the trefoil, which is the green manure, planted by the end of September, because it's got to be about this high off the ground before dormancy kicks in, and that will start, weather depending, in late September, October. Now these are fast growing plants that will smother out all the weeds, which is good. But she wanted the paths to be placed first. Now she's away this weekend, and next weekend is the end of August, sorry. So I thought I ought to get it done so that she can put them in next week, and that will have been done in August still, before the end of August. Otherwise we may not. I don't want it to sort of fall flat on its face, really. And she doesn't exactly know that I've actually taken the initiative and done that yet. She's either going to love what I've done or absolutely hate it. I can tell you one thing: if she hates it, she can put it down herself next time, because it's a nightmare. I do have a worry that it's going to blow away, because what we've used is the sort of material you put down to stop weeds coming up, and it's very tough, very strong, but it's quite light, and I don't want it to blow away in the wind. I've anchored it quite well, I think, but just a little concerned, and I think that's pretty much it. That's what we've been focusing on. Oh dear, these are what? Oh, very bad smells. That's pretty much it for this week. Obviously we've carried on doing the south side as well, but some of that will need ground clearance again because we've done it too early. Digging has taken too long on the north side compared to when we started, so I'm redoing areas that I've already done before, but I don't mind really, because we are running out of time with that. The thing is that we don't need to have it all dug over until January, and dormancy will kick in, in about a month and a half, and at that point it's not going to grow back, so I don't need to worry too much. Yeah, people are around, so I'm going to turn off and carry on with the rest of this.